welcome back. It is week 33 on Out on That Line. I'm Geoff with my co-host Alex. Alex, how you doing this week?
Well, Geoff, to quote Casey Musgraves, I'm happy and sad at the same time. And I'll tell you why I'm sad, first of all.
Okay.
Friend of the show, Jim Steinman, passed away yesterday as we're recording this episode.
Yes.
You want to talk to the people a little bit about Jim Steinman and how he came into our lives?
Yes, I would love to. I was just a little boy, and I got a little CD called Bat Out of Hell 2, Back into Hell. And life was no longer a lemon after that, and I didn't want my money back. It was life-changing at the time. I must have been like 9 years old, something like that, but had never heard anything like that. You know, I'd been listening to like jock jams, shit like that. Mm-hmm. Pretty consistently up to that point. Meatloaf blew my mind and was all written by Jim Steinman, as well as Bat Out of Hell, the original, which I found a few years later. So I kind of went backwards there. But Jim Steinman was a musical genius. I don't know about his personal life, what kind of person he was, really. I think he was kind of a wacky guy, but definitely produced some of the most important music to my musical development as a music fan. Meatloaf is incredible. I mean, I love just about everything. Well, all the Bat Out of Hell stuff anyway.
Yeah.
I love just about everything everything they did together was excellent. It was like a match made in heaven. Really sad to see that Jim Steinman had passed away.
And it's a similar story on my end. So my dad's family's from Jersey, and whenever we'd make a road trip down there as a little kid, you're like 5 hours. Why not 5 years while we're fucking at it? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So you got to pass those long rides with some music. And my dad had a little bucket of tapes because, make no mistake, we were going to listen to his music and his music only. You were allotted some Raffi until you were 5, and then hard, cold turkey Raffi times.
Yeah, grow out of that.
So then it was a lot of Jackson Browne. It was a lot of the Eagles.
Woof.
Yeah, that was tough. Those were tough stretches. A lot of Tom Waits, which I really like, and a lot of Meatloaf. He had Dead Ringer, both Bat Out of Hells, and maybe Bad Attitude on cassette.
The one with the hot chick on the motorcycle?
Yes, I think so.
Oh yeah.
So like that was my first experience, was just like riding in the back seat to this supercharged Meatloaf music. It was really exciting. It was really interesting to listen to. And as a kid, you have no idea what it's saying, but you're taken in by like just how full and loud and raucous it is. You just like have a concept of what a party is, even though you're a small child. And again, all of that made possible by the songwriting genius of Jim Steinman, who, you are correct, Geoff, was a few potatoes short of a salad as a guy for socializing. Tanner will skin me alive if I don't get this right, but I'm going to go out on that limb. I think it's Def Leppard. Tells a story about bringing Jim Steinman in to produce an album with them.
Yes,
and it was just a Hall of Fame disaster. Do you have more details for this? Take it away.
So Joe Elliott, noted douchebag Joe Elliott, the lead singer of Def Leppard, had claimed at one point, he's like, "Oh, don't lump us in with those hair metal bands. We're not hair metal." I'm like, "Okay, buddy. I don't know what you call yourselves then." But that's neither here nor there. They had brought in Jim Steinman because he had done Bat Out of Hell. And I think I want to say it was like Todd Rundgren who was like, "Yeah, bring this guy in. Like you need a producer, you need a songwriter, like bring this guy in." And if you've listened to the Bat Out of Hell albums and you've also listened to Def Leppard, you would know that those two types of music are not very similar at all. Just about the only thing they have in common is the instruments that they're playing to create it. It's, Def Leppard is like hair metal. I mean, Pyromania they did Pour Some Sugar on Me as well.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, some hot garbage songs anyway, but, they brought him in and it was terrible. Jim Steinman was being Jim Steinman, a stickler. Somebody's like, "This has to have magic." And all they wanted was a hit record. All they wanted was sell a bunch of albums, go on tour, bang a bunch of chicks, and that's all they cared about. And Jim Steinman was like, I'm an artist. I'm going to make this into something great. You know, like maybe like a Seasons in Hell from Eddie and the Cruisers. It was that same kind of thing. Jim Steinman was trying to do that sort of thing. And Def Leppard just wanted another hit record. That's it. So those two things didn't work. It was like oil and water. But Joe Elliott talking shit about anybody in regards to music is always going to be funny to me, because I was like, the rest of your band was talented. Did you ever watch the Def Leppard biopic? I think it was a VH1 original.
No. Wait, like actors portraying Def Leppard and shit?
Yeah.
Tell me everything.
It was, honestly, I haven't seen it in years, but I remember it being like decent, at least interesting.
Yeah.
Because they focused a lot on the drummer getting in that car accident that cost him his arm, and him like learning how to play drums with the pedal things that they had made for him in one arm. And that part was very interesting. And it went into like the guitar player, Phil Collin, who's a really, really good guitar player. You know, definitely should get more credit than he gets, but he's in Def Leppard, so, you know, what are you going to do? But it was, as far as I remember, was a pretty interesting movie. You know, I wouldn't say one of the best. Certainly didn't win an Oscar. It was a VH1 original movie, I'm pretty sure. But it was at least entertaining.
Well, so it was The Dirt before there was The Dirt.
Yeah, I don't think they went as hard as The Dirt did.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, that movie, that was excellent. I liked that movie quite a bit. That was
fun.
Nothing but entertaining. You know, seeing Ramsey Bolton playing that sort of character was pretty funny.
Yeah, what's the guy's name from Motley Crue?
Mick Mars.
Mick Mars.
Yep.
Good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. Good
we love
stuff.
It. Well, speaking of nostalgia acts, Jeff.
Yeah. Oh, God. I know where this is going.
You do know where this is going. Greta Van Fleet released, they docked a new fleet of songs on the shores of the good ship Popular Music.
You get what? Did you listen?
I sure did. I listened to the whole thing.
Yeah. I didn't.
This is me publicly saying I disavow Greta Van Fleet.
Okay.
We'll always have From the Fires, and that's where I'm going to leave it. They have nothing else in the tank besides being a Zeppelin ripoff. Sorry,
okay.
I'm one of those people now who thinks that they're boomer porn. I'm done. That album fucking sucked my balls. Fuck Greta Van Fleet. I'm out.
Well, I will say it might have been a smart move on their part to do that, because think of the generations that have money to spend on merch and expensive concert tickets and things like that. They're speaking to the generation that has that kind of money. You're trying to bring in a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-olds, you know, maybe they have their parents' money, but I feel like you have a much bigger well to draw from if all you're looking for is some cash, some cold hard cash, and you get that with the boomer generation. So good on them. Maybe they've got the secret and we just have now realized that they had the secret all along.
The thing is, I love the argument you just made, because it's absolutely correct. A boomer and his money are easily parted, and nostalgia is just like catnip to them. I guess it is to everybody. That doesn't make them unique. But at any rate, I don't think the Greta Van Fleet guys are smart enough to realize that is a good strategy. Because if you listen to I get it, they're young. But if you read interviews with them and you listen to their fucking lyrics, they have no idea what they're talking about. Like they I think know they're not deep, but are going to pretend to be anyway.
Yeah.
As part of the aesthetic. It's baffling. It's just like really baffling that people are like, this is saving rock and roll. I'm like, no, it's not. It's dialysis for rock and roll.
Yeah. It might be. I mean, I guess you can only survive on nostalgia for so long. You know, you have to. It has to move forward. It has to continue to evolve. And if you're just going to play the same things over and over and stuff that other people had already played, that's pretty useless. So we can throw them in the useless pile, and don't expect to hear about Greta Van Fleet on the pod if anybody was going to request that.
And I will say, because I know probably like Kuzman and Tanner right now are loading their pistols, but so I will say this. They are talented musicians. Mm-hmm. I'm not even going to say competent. They are talented. That is what is so frustrating, because they could take that talent and they could do something different and expand their sound and expand their sphere of influence and try new things, and it would probably be really satisfying to watch them do it.
Yeah.
Because they are talented musicians. So it's very frustrating that they're just like, fuck it, we're going to wait around in the shallow end of the pool. Fuck that.
Yeah. Well, I'd be interested in hearing them do something more interesting than what they've done. Because it's not like it's the worst thing in the world to listen to. It doesn't make you want to shove an ice pick through your eardrum or anything like that.
Sure.
But it's just, at least I haven't listened to the new album. Maybe the new album does. But to me, it's just like, just something I was never going to go out of my way to listen to.
It's the equivalent of like, baby, I can change. It's like, well, you're going to have to prove it. And then they give you that album and you're like, you haven't changed at all, Greta. But the reason I bring Greta Van Fleet up, this is a fun game that also kind of proves my asshole point. We're going to play, was this lyric penned by Led Zeppelin or Greta Van Fleet?
All right, beautiful. Let's do it.
Are you, first of all, what is your depth of familiarity with Led Zeppelin?
I mean, it probably not as deep as most people with Zeppelin. I probably know a good like dozen songs by them like very well, but other than that, not much.
Okay. So there's 10 here. We're not going to do all 10. We're going to see what you get.
Okay.
I told your mama I'd get you home, but I didn't tell her I had no car. I saw a lion. He was standing alone with a tadpole in a jar.
Greta Van Fleet.
You're saying Greta?
Yes.
Survey says, boop. That is from Led Zeppelin's Dancing Days.
Oh, okay. Well, 0 for 1.
Well, we'll go to the next one here. Squeeze me, baby, till the juice runs down my leg.
Oh,
the
that's
way
Zeppelin.
you say Led Zeppelin?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The Lemon song. It was my performance, I think, that probably sold it for you.
You are wearing awfully tight pants.
Yeah, Electric gold our love with tender care, hills of satin grass and maidens fair. Now she rides through the night on a silver storm.
Zeppelin.
Zeppelin?
Yep.
Survey says this is from Greta Van Fleet's Flower Power, in which a woman is compared to a sparrow of the dawn. Fuck that.
Oh, man. 1 for 3. Okay.
All right. Let's get into the weeds here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, yes, you got a fine sister. She warmed my blood from cold. She warmed my blood till boiling hot.
Zeppelin.
Zeppelin? Correct. That is from Gallows Pole.
All right.
All right, Jeff, to bring it home.
Okay.
Oh, God, hellfire, witch of Endor raised. Saul would fall to his knees. Watch the fire rage. Satan plays his flute for him.
I want to say Zeppelin, but I'm going to say Greta Van Fleet.
You can say Greta?
Yes.
For the record, I know I'm the game master and I'm supposed to be impartial. I would also, almost within a statistical certainty, say Greta Van Fleet. I can't wait for us to be wrong.
Oh, boy.
No, we're right. And it says, congrats on knowing that this utter nonsense was written by Greta Van Fleet. I think that constitutes a win the game. If you add my points and your points, we won.
Yeah, well, so the reason I said that was because you said Endor. And I don't think Endor was a thing in popular lexicon, because it came from Star Wars. I don't think that was a thing in popular lexicon until after Zeppelin had already made their run.
You're probably right. I think the first one came out in 76, 77.
Yeah, because that was in the Return of the Jedi, right? Was the Forest Moon of Endor.
The Forest Moon event, and that was 80s. That was early 80s.
With Ewoks. So that's what I used the old brain piece on that one.
Look at you.
Yeah. It's not
Sherlock Greenmore.
It's not as smooth as everybody thought.
Tremendous.
Yes.
Well done, Jeff.
Yes. Well, is that all you want to? Is that all you want to do?
That's it. That was my
Okay.
special segment for the week.
Okay. Well, I also have a segment. So it's a song that you sent to me. I don't know why you torture me so, but Mick Jagger and Dave Grohl decided to do a song together, and it's called Easy Sleazy. God, it just feels gross saying it, you know. Grohl did it again, man. Like he sucks so bad.
His disease is spreading.
Yeah, I mean, not to say that, at this point Mick Jagger's career, he could have come up with better lyrics. I'm pretty sure the Rolling Stones are running on the fumes of fumes at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But goddamn, like, why does he keep doing this? And somebody needs to take his pen away, because he should not be allowed to write anything anymore. Dave Grohl is a blight on our society.
I am neither a Foo Fighters fan nor a Rolling Stones fan. I can't say that the musicianship in either band is terrible. It's just never done it for me at all. I'm just not a Rolling Stones person, not a Foo Fighters person. So you can imagine my surprise when your super lame uncle from Seattle, Dave Grohl, shows up to Thanksgiving and runs into your fucking aunt from your other side of the family's creepy new boyfriend, who, quite frankly, your aunt should be having sex with a men's room floor at Madison Square Garden over this scuzzball, but whatever. And now chocolate and peanut butter are finally together, Geoff, because Mick Jagger and Dave Grohl are making a song together. I almost puked my guts out.
Yeah, it was, I mean, the lyrics are as bad as you would assume with Dave Grohl involved. And I mean, they're terrible. Like, awful stuff. And I what I wanted to do here is play a fun little game that this inspired me.
I love it.
So I want to hear what you would rather suffer through than another Dave Grohl song. I'll start just to give you the idea of where I'm going with this. I would rather spend every day for the rest of my life with a fold in my sock inside my shoe. I would rather have to deal with that every day for the rest of my life than deal with another Dave Grohl song.
Well, and let's break this down. A Dave Grohl song, when you have a highly successful music podcast such as this, people are anticipating your reaction to it, which is they're anticipating basically putting you against the wall and facing a firing squad, because everybody loves Dave Grohl and everybody loves Foo Fighters, but you don't. So at some point, you're going to have to take your lumps. It is a miserable process. I don't think Andy has forgiven us at this point yet. In fact, he wants to come on the show and debate us.
Okay.
So, potential segment there.
Yep. I had a couple more.
Okay.
Here. I'd rather stub my toe on every table I walk by for the rest of my life.
Yep, that's good.
I would rather hump a piece of splintered balsa wood.
All right, Chasey Land.
Yes, borrowed from the Bloodhound Gang. Let's see. I had another one. I would rather, every time I chop vegetables, I'd rather cut my finger. Every time.
Ooh, how bad are we talking?
Like just enough to bleed, just enough that it's annoying.
Okay, maybe I'll do a less extreme example and a less elaborate example. I would rather constantly feel like I just shit myself, but it's hard to tell, and like I can't politely find out if I did or not. I just vaguely feel like I shit my pants. So I just live in fear and discomfort. I'd rather do that than listen to another Dave Grohl song ever again.
Okay. See, that's I feel like there's so many things that, and when I think of those things, they all sound horrible, but it would hurt me less than hearing another song like this.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I'm trying to think of other like equally uncomfortable stuff that I would be forced to live with if it meant no more Dave Grohl. Very interesting. Biting my cheek would be a good one.
Yep.
I hate that. No pain worse than biting your cheek.
Yep.
I would bite my cheek at every meal, same spot, just, oh, fuck, for the rest of my life. Every day. Yep.
I would rather walk around with wet socks all day, every day.
You're a madman.
I would rather wear socks to bed than listen to another Dave Grohl song.
I would rather get really fat again than listen to another Dave Grohl song.
I would rather go vegan than listen to another Dave Grohl song.
Holy fuck. Wow. All right, Jeff.
Yeah.
Well, you win.
Got
Mine's
him.
much easier, just getting fat.
Got him. Well, that was fun. You know, I
Yeah.
really I wanted to make sure that people understood our pain with having to be a music podcast and exist in the same realm as Dave Grohl.
Do you see? You were just like the guy in Red Dragon. I need to make them see. Do you see?
Well, what do you say we get to some happier times here?
Let's do it.
Because we have something really wonderful to dig into. We have a listener submission from Tanner Acebo. Now, Tanner wrote to us on the Instagram, as the rest of you should, with any album submissions. You'll find us on Instagram, @Out on That Line. Tanner said we should look at the Fountains of Wayne album, Welcome Interstate Managers. Now, this is the album that does contain Stacy's mom, and don't worry, folks. We're going to discuss Stacy's mom, okay? We're going to do it. Don't worry. But we have picked 3 other songs each that we're going to get into here. And I believe it was like the anniversary of Adam Schlesinger's passing that prompted Tanner to message us. The
That would
lead
make
singer,
sense.
Yeah, he passed away, I think, a year ago, something like that.
From COVID.
Yeah, unfortunate. Very unfortunate. Lost a lot of folks to that. But it's I had never listened to this whole album all the way through. Hand up, being honest, had never really listened to anything by Fountains of Wayne other than Stacy's mom. So this was a brand new experience for me. And it was not what I expected. I expected them to be a lot more of a just like straight up pop punk band, just like high energy all the time. I did not expect the variety or the talent that was displayed on this album. So I was very pleasantly surprised.
And it's a super eclectic mix of songs. And that's because the album that they did before this, Utopia Parkway in 1999, was a bomb. And they got kicked off Atlantic Records, and they just all kind of not really went their separate ways, but got bogged down and just feeling bad and didn't really come up with any new material. But they finally rallied together, and I think it was Adam Schlesinger. What a hard name to say.
Yeah, right.
Schlesinger. Well, Adam was the one that kind of brought everybody back together to start working again. And they kept looking for new labels to pick them up, but these labels were like, we won't do it without a demo. So finally the band just went, fuck that. We're an established band. We're not doing any goddamn demos. Let's just do it ourselves. And they rented some studio space and brought like next to no equipment and did it bootleg Captain Beefheart style. And this was the result. It was this like very eclectic collection of songs they're all about different points of view in suburbia. It's just slice of life for all these different characters in any town, USA. And it's just really fun, awesome music. There's so much to love on this album.
Yeah. And that is, to me, one of the most interesting things about it is, all of these songs are, like you said, from different perspectives of folks that are from any town, USA. And I had never heard really a concept like that. I think in the, online they get compared to like the Green Day American Idiot album, where it's like just this kind of look at, kind of several different characters. I think Green Day's American Idiot was more focused on kind of the one guy, this guy, Jimmy, I think was his name, which American Idiot I thought was a pretty great album as well. So them getting compared to that, kind of drew me into this one a little more because I was like, well, if it's in that same vein, I'm probably going to like it. And I ended up liking everything all the way through. And like I was telling you, we usually pick 3 songs that kind of jump out at us. And what I tend to look for are the ones that get me like the most excited. The ones that I'm like, oh, that's a great fucking rock song. Or, that one's got a great riff. And stuff like that is kind of what I tend to look for. Or if it's got something really strong lyrically. But this one has, and I'll get into it, but this one has an interesting story about how they became a one-hit wonder. And so I chose the songs that kind of revolved around that storyline as the ones that I found the most interesting. But don't take that, listeners, as like I don't think the rest of the music is good, because I really enjoyed this whole album. And because nothing like totally jumped out at me, I think because everything was so consistently good on this one that nothing jumped out above the rest, like it does on some albums, because through the whole thing, I thought this album was a really fun listen all the way through. And I'm glad that I listened to it.
Yeah, definitely. And my criteria really was like which stories jumped out at me the most.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of cases, the music might have been incidental to it. Like Hackensack is a song we'll talk about. And that was definitely one where I was like, I think the music is obviously like fine, but it's the story that's sucking me in here. And the music is keeping me there. We have a lot of good picks. So do you want to just jump on in?
Yeah, let's hop in. So the first song is actually the first one that I chose, is Mexican Wine. It's from the perspective of a pilot. And what was interesting about this one is I immediately kind of realized the melodies that they're capable of are just like infectious. It's like just the earworm kind of songs. They really seem to have a great sensibility for pop. And so I got that sense in the first song, and then it just got cemented all the way through the rest of the album. But it's interesting because this album spawned a music video. And in that music video, there were some children drinking wine or pretending to drink wine. And so people got all up in arms about that, because they were like, kids shouldn't be drinking wine, even though it's just in a music video. People get mad at anything, I suppose. So they pulled it from the air, basically. Like, it just got killed right off. I think it was the single after Stacy's Mom. So it was like their next shot at getting outside of the one-hit wonder, and it didn't work out because it got pulled from all the airwaves. They stopped playing it on the radio and basically just made them fizzle out, because they had another song, Hey Julie, that was going to be another single. But by the time that came out, after those two had happened, and especially after Mexican Wine, nobody played it. They had kind of burned all of their credibility with radio stations, with like MTV, whatever places were playing music at that time. It kind of just ruined it for them, which is kind of a crazy story, that something just from a music video that it was really, like, these days, I don't think would be looked at as that big of a deal. It just happened to be the problem du jour, I suppose. And people got all up in arms, canceled them, and basically made them a one-hit wonder. It was just Stacy's Mom.
Yeah, it's like, dude, 12-year-olds vape. And obviously people aren't okay with that. And it's obviously a health concern. But, like, don't we have bigger fish to fry than child actors who drank grape juice in a music video because someone tried to, God forbid, be fucking creative in executing a vision for a music video for their song? It's real. I read the same story, and it is really disappointing that it was just puritanical beliefs that tanked their career, that assigned them the status of the one-hit wonder. Because Stacy's Mom, that song became number one with a bullet, solid pure gold. And we got the giant-breasted model with the pneumatic tits in the fucking video, and I will talk more about it. And it's like sexually explicit lyrics and all that. We're fine with that. But if the little kids are drinking wine, it's horseshit. Okay. Because this is an amazing song. You talk about what they're able to do with those melodies in the third verse, where it goes to the pilot talking about his day, because the conceit of the song is life is chaotic and random. You'll never come out on top. You can't make sense of it. To wit, the second verse, there was a woman that lived across from the health department in a tiny apartment, left her pills in the glove compartment. So it's a woman with a heart condition who needs pills. The one day she forgets him is the one day she really needed him, and she fucking dies.
Yeah.
So the whole song is about that idea of, like, life is random, life is fleeting. Chill out, have another glass of Mexican wine. And it's just got this really cool melody. I can't even really do it justice, because you need all the elements working together in synergy. But it is so goddamn infectious, and it is the perfect way to start this album and the collection of stories on it.
Yeah. And it really, I think, gets you in the mindset that if you weren't aware that it's going to be from specific viewpoints throughout the whole thing, this one is kind of the teaser to that whole idea. And, it's really, I think that, that verse too, where she lived alone in a small apartment across the street from the health department. Like, it seems like those lines, are so simple, It seems like the writing is so just like tossed off, but it really has a weight to it in its simplicity. And it really, I think, allows you to not have to unpack everything and just feel the emotions and feel the stories as they're trying to tell you. And it's just like they strike that perfect balance in it from the word go on here, from Mexican Wine all the way on down through the rest of the songs. They perform at that high level. And it's really, I can't believe this album was not more of a smash hit, especially with how big Stacy's Mom was. I just can't believe that it never achieved like atmospheric levels of success, because it absolutely deserved to.
Yeah, and again, just to get tanked because of the music video, and it ruins your credibility and gets you pulled from the airwaves, and you never recover. It's a fucking absolute crime. Because if we're going to transition to the next song, do you want to list the other things that are on the album, or you just want to jump to what we decided we'd talk about?
We can just list as we go through.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's next? I don't have the...
So the next one is Bright Future in Sales.
Ah, yes.
Yes. And this one is just, again, like infectious melodies, great power pop music. I mean, it's just unreal what like the talent level that they're working with on this stuff. It's like you'd put this up against the best like Big Star or like Oasis. You could put this up against like any of the best power pop you've ever heard in your life, and this song is just as good as any of those.
And it's I know it's a one of Tanner's favorites. I asked him, I was like, what about your picks? And this was one of his top picks as well. And it's a theme that recurs on the album quite a bit, which is just like shitty, sellout corporate America, office space kind of life. But they do a great job of keeping it fresh as they revisit it.
Yeah, and keeping it personal, too. Not just making this person out to be some kind of shithead corporate shill.
Yeah.
It's they make it so like at least he's got a bright future as a salesman, but he has some things that are holding him back from totally committing to that. So it's like they add such a good human element to everything throughout the whole album that it's just a really, really interesting look through a lot of different perspectives. I really, really enjoyed it. And the next song is one that people may have heard of on this album. It is Stacy's Mom. So if you haven't heard this song, I can't imagine where you have been for the last 15 years or whatever it's been since this came out. 18 years. Sorry. June 10th, 2003. This came out. So just about 18 years now. Really one of the best pop rock songs that I think has ever existed, because it will get stuck in your head. It's funny. The video is funny. Everything about this song just screams enjoyable. It's weird to like just kind of have that sort of abstract feeling about a song, but especially when you put this one in context, like I don't think I've ever gotten sick of the song Stacy's Mom, as much of a novelty as it may be. When you put it in context with the rest of the album, it all of a sudden becomes a much more meaningful song. It's really pretty incredible what they did with this.
Yeah, and it's the suburban kid with the crush on the older woman and like wants nothing to do with her kid who's actually in his grade. It's just, you're right. It's super funny, and it's honestly a song that if they were going to be one-hit wonders, this was a song that was tailor-made for it. It was memorable. It was so smart to lead with it as a single because it's not something that other people were doing. So if you're going to be a one-hit wonder, I guess do it with style, and this was the perfect song for that. And those tight harmonies in the chorus. What other pop was doing that at the time?
Yeah. And it's like the way, I mean, it's just everybody's been there, right? Whether it's a crush on an older woman or just a crush in general. It's like every little thing they do, you relate it to yourself. So it's like if they just say hi to you, it's like, oh my God, they said hi to me. It's not that they just say hi to everybody that they see. It's they said hi to me. And the spot, where he says, I could tell she liked me from the way she stared and the way she said, you missed a spot over there, when he's talking about mowing her lawn for her. It's just like he's taking that as, oh my God, she talked to me. She must feel the same as I do. She talked to me. But it's just like everybody's been there, where you find so much meaning in something that is really utterly meaningless to that other person. She's just telling him like, hey buddy, you're fucking up. Like, finish mowing the lawn the right way, stop staring at my butt and finish mowing the lawn. And it's just so funny. And the video is really funny too. And they had Rachel Hunter, who's a model. I don't know if she ever was in like Playboy or anything. I think she was a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model, I think, back in the day. So she was like, in her heyday, she was like one of the big models in the world. Like, she was a big deal. And they just asked her to do it. And she plays it perfectly. I mean, she fits the role of like the hot mom. She fits that role perfectly. Obviously, she was a model. And she just like leaned way into it. And the kids leaned way into it in the video. And it just like, it made an already funny song even more hysterical as you see it play out in kind of real time in the video. And I can't imagine, I can't think of like a better power pop song. Maybe like One Week by the Bare Naked Ladies, like the same, or anything by Hootie and the Blowfish. It's like that kind of music where it's like, it's impossible to hate it. It's like, it's really, I don't know how you find a way to dislike it.
Yeah, it becomes part of your DNA at a certain point, songs like that. And again, like you said, Rachel Hunter really went for it in the music video. Like, they really went for it in that music video. But, the song about the kid who's fantasizing about his classmate's hot mom, and she's riding the stripper pole and sopping wet in the video, we're fine with that. But don't you fucking dare give children juicy juice and tell me it's wine. I will have a fucking freak out and I will fucking end you.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we've got kids in Italy that start drinking wine at like 8 years old with their parents. I mean, it's just like, what are we really mad about here, folks? Just ridiculous. Yeah, just ridiculous. But if you haven't heard Stacy's Mom, go listen to it, especially watch the music video, because hopefully it will make you realize that every song on this album is just as good. It has just as infectious of a melody, has just as much just as much talent poured into it as Stacy's Mom. It's like, this is an album full of songs that could have been hits, is kind of what I took away from it. And even the next song that, kind of slows it down a little bit, Hackensack, which was one of your picks. Mm-hmm. Now tell me why.
I just relate to this song very, very, very deeply. It's this idea, okay, I'll start at the beginning. And I don't want this to sound conceited, but I am a talented performer.
Yes.
And when I was in high school, a lot of people, when they were like, oh, he's going to go to music school, that's great. Oh, you'll do so well. I hope to see you on Broadway. Don't forget about everybody when you're famous. Like, all the shit that people say to be encouraging to someone, where they're like, in 5 years, the reality of your life is going to be, would you like fries with that? But everyone was really nice and gave me the good luck slugger treatment. And to then have like nothing materialize, and the main character even says in Hackensack, I used to work in a record store and now I work for my dad. And it's like, well, wouldn't you know who won the pony in my situation? And the character in this song is thinking about someone who did make it out and made it big. Mm-hmm. He talks about seeing her on TV opposite Christopher Walken. Mm-hmm. So this is somebody who broke out of a small town and made it, and he didn't. And he's still here wondering what she's up to. I'm assuming it's a woman. Just like what
I think
she's
that's safe.
Yeah. I mean, I may be spacing on if it's specifically mentioned as such, but it's just thinking about like, okay, well, this person with all this success and this wonderful life, what are they up to right now? I know what I'm up to. I'm chipping paint off the floor of the shop here. And you just, I also get the distinct impression that these two people weren't necessarily close, that they just like knew of each other. Yeah. The closest thing I can think of is I graduated with professional skateboarder Jordan Maxim.
Yep.
It would be like that kind of thing. Like, I wonder what he's up to right now. It's that same sort of thing. We were never close. Barely said 2 words to each other 4 years in high school. We just never interacted.
Yeah.
Nice guy, from what I remember. It's just one of those things. And Hackensack is a song that's dedicated to that feeling where you're just like, man, time moves real brutally fucking fast.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's the sort of thing where you kind of, everybody, it's hard to take these big concepts and keep them in perspective in your brain, right? This fact that you're wanting to leave, but you can't. So you kind of centralize those things on something specific sometimes, to make it easier for you to wrap your brain around. And he seemed to pick this girl, that he probably had a crush on or whatever, but like you said, maybe it wasn't that close with. And she's the one that left and got out and got famous. And so he has kind of personalized his desires to leave and his feeling like he hasn't done enough, has personalized them in her. And I think that's such a clever thing to do in an album where, again, like none of the lyrics are that complex. None of this is difficult to understand. They're all telling very straightforward stories, these little vignettes about different people in any town, USA. I really like that you said it that way. It makes it very easy to describe, the sort of thing that we're talking about here. But I think that's what this song is about. It's about more than just like, oh, I had this crush on this girl and she left and I wonder what she's doing now. It's that human element of like, oh, the grass is greener on the other side. She made it to the other side. I wonder how green that grass is. And it's just, he's chosen her to kind of personalize all those things and all those feelings, to put them on something to make it easier for him to like think about, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just and it's a very understated song. It's very dreamy. It's got like, it's not as ornamental as shoegaze, but it's got that kind of soul and sensibility to it. It's very murmury, and it's a song that, with that sound, draws you in and makes you just kind of meditate on it. And it's like, yeah, well, here I am in my small town, and I can't help, but there's nothing else to do but sit and think about everyone and everything. And Hackensack is a song for that vibe.
Yeah, really, really good choice. And as is your next one, No Better Place.
Yeah, and that one is pretty simple for me. I'm that asshole that lived in New York and can't stop talking about it. And, I love me a good New York song. And I hate that my brain always goes to this other place, but I interpreted this song as being about a suicide. Oh. I realized like that's tends to be a go-to for me, but I got distinct vibes like that for this song. It's either about somebody. It's okay. Back up. We got two people in this song. We've got the person singing the song, and we've got the person that the song is about. And the person that the song is about has basically been chewed up and spit out by New York City. And this other person may be doing well, maybe getting by, who knows. But we just know that this person can see what is happening to the person that's being abused by New York City. And then there's this line about floating between the buildings and the sky. And that's when I wonder, is this somebody who chose to take their own life? And then the singer at the end of the song is talking about, I miss you. I will never stop missing you. And you're going to no place better. So does that mean that this person went home? They either went home, like went back to their hometown and gave the fuck up and left New York, or they killed themselves. Those are the only two possibilities I see story-wise. I don't know about you.
So I did not consider that at first. But now that you have said it, it really does make sense. It really, really, really does make sense. Because in verse 2, he says, you're awake and trying not to be, wrapped around your pillow like a prawn. And it sounds to me like, they're having at least depression, which unfortunately does lead to something like suicide in too many cases. And then you have the bridge, and here's your reflection in a building uptown. So it's like he's seeing this person in these places, a ghost inside some Madison Avenue display. It even says the word ghost. So if it's not a suicide, I think it's probably at least meant to be able to be taken that way. That maybe he's equating them giving up and leaving New York as a form of committing suicide. Maybe not physical suicide, but maybe like emotional suicide, or they're getting rid of the life that they have there, so they're killing that life. So maybe that's considered some sort of abstract type of suicide.
Yeah, and again, not to be the New York asshole, but there are frequent moments living in that city where you realize just how insignificant you are,
Mhm.
And I so like very cinematically, I see that moment in the song where this person, and again, I see it as a woman, is looking into a Madison Avenue storefront and catches their reflection. And it's that moment where you're just forced to look at yourself and how like beaten down and changed and scarred you are.
Yeah.
And you just take stock of like, I am completely, totally fucking insignificant. It happens at a different point for everybody where you're just like, my God, I'm crammed in a subway car, one of many, and I'm a speck of dust in the infinite vastness of this world. And if you're already fighting something like depression, I can see where something like that would literally and figuratively push you over the edge. So
Mm-hmm.
that's at least was my takeaway from listening to the song.
That, my friend, is why I have you on this podcast, because you see, seriously, because you see things in songs that I don't a lot of times. You know, I think of things a lot of times on much too much of a surface level, you know, just what is the lyric literally saying to me? But finding those meanings like that, you know, kind of that reading between the lines like you do, that's really great. I mean, I would have never pulled that out of that song, but it all of a sudden has that other layer of meaning. And I think it just adds a lot to it, you know, where this was a song that not necessarily got me that excited.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was a good song. Like you can always hear the talent, at least whether the song really speaks to you or not, you can always hear the talent, and you putting that filter on that one really changes it for me. Like that to me is a really good interpretation of this song, whether it's a physical suicide or, you know, just using that as kind of a placeholder for, you know, lack of a better word, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you liked it, because I don't know. I was thinking about it. I'm like, oh man, am I going to be the guy that's like New York City and suicide? That's my personality. Like, so.
Well, you can't be that bad yet because you don't say the city.
Oh yes, the city.
Yeah, people that say the city and then are weirded out when people are like, "What do you mean, what city?" They're like, New York City, of course.
I did say the. You should interpret from that I obviously meant New York.
Well, the next song, Valley Winter Song, was not one that we picked, but was a very nice little ditty. I think this one was written by Chris Collingwood. This was not an Adam Schlesinger. Damn, that is hard. Schlesinger.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, this was not a Adam Schlesinger song. This was Chris Collingwood. But again, very nice little song. Starts out, "Hey, sweet Annie." You're always going to score numbers when you have that kind of song, you know. Then we have "All Kinds of Time." I made one note on this one. It's about a quarterback, you know, having a moment of clarity during a football game, and all of a sudden realizing, you know, the world slowed down for him, and he's thinking about life is bigger than football, but, you know, right now I'm in this moment, I'll make the best of it. You know, very nice sentiment. But the only note that I made on here was, remember the fountains. I want a victory. No, I want a victory. No, I want a victory. Left side, strong side. Left side, strong side. The next song, "Little Red Light," was another pick by Alex.
Yeah, and I did this one on behalf of Tanner. I kind of let him quarterback some of my picks with me.
Nicely
because
done.
Thank you. I liked I love this album so much. I really like all the songs on it. So I was like, oh, just help me zero in on some stuff. And Little Red Light was one that I bring forth on his behalf. I mean, it is quintessential power pop, and it is quintessential 2003, and I mean that as a compliment, because again, nostalgia is a powerful drug, and this song is right in the pocket. It is clean as all fuck musically. It's driving, it's overwhelming, absolutely quintessentially early 2000s. Simple story. You miss somebody, you notice their absence, and you keep hoping you'll come home to find a message from them on the answering machine. That's how old this song is, and it just doesn't happen. And it's just a great fucking song.
Mm-hmm. And I like how they, you know, a lot of bands will not will shy away from naming specific towns and naming specific places because they want it to be relatable to folks outside those bubbles. But I really like the fact that they reference very specific places, like sitting in traffic on the Tappan Zee Bridge. New York to Nyack feels like 100 miles. And talking about these very specific locations, I think helps centralize you in these songs because, and especially if, us being from the Northeast, obviously had much more access to New York City and the tri-state area than people on the other side of the country did, and you lived there. So these things, like when he says those things, like I'm sure you picture the Tappan Zee Bridge in your mind, and you picture like what he's talking about, New York to Nyack, like that distance because you lived in one of those places, and it's like those sorts of things I think help add a backbone to their songs on this album. In Valley Winter Song, when he talks about being in a small New England town, like you picture that, you get this picture painted in your mind of what he's talking about, sets the scene, and allows you to see these people that they're talking about in those scenes, and allows you to see, in verse 2, when he says, as I'm reaching in the bottom drawer, I'm dreaming about the way it was before. Life was so easy, I never really had to think. And you imagine somebody sitting at their desk, in a dead end job, something they're not really enjoying, and their only way out is to drink. Their only way out of finding something to enjoy is drinking, because they feel like they're stuck. And it's just so easy to picture those things the way they write these songs that it really, throughout the whole album, but especially a song like this, it's so apparent the talent that they had to work with. And it's so baffling to me that the only song people know by them is Stacey's Mom. And I'm guilty of that as well. Like, I can't believe I never got into this album before this.
Yeah, they do tremendous world building within these songs. I mean, another place in time, they have a really strong sense of imagery and painting the picture for people, since you can't. It's very cinematic. Yeah. So Little Red Light, great pick, Tanner. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, thank you, Tanner. If people weren't aware, listener submission from Tanner Acebo is why we're doing this album. The next song, Hey Julie. This was the one I was talking about before that really should have been a hit. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know why this one wasn't. Well, I mean, I know why, because Welcome or Mexican Wine got lambasted and taken off the air, so nobody took them seriously after this. But hot damn, Hey Julie is a hell of a song. Hell of a song.
Yep. It's another one that just like uses every last drop of imagery absolutely perfectly. And it's just this classic slice of life story. And I love the little tricks lyrically. Very small, simple stuff that just lets you know that more thought than a Dave Grohl song went into it.
Yes.
Just like, when I get back home, you rub my back. What is so mind-blowing about that, right? As I always say, it's not Dylan's Masters of War. But it's just, again, it's showing a sense of scale. This is just a regular old couple, and it's as simple as, like, I had a shitty day, you do something nice for me. It doesn't have to be earth-shattering to be poignant. And this is one of those songs that realizes it's very low stakes. It's about a very simple, easy to grasp concept, and it just finds ways to be clever and entertaining.
Yeah. And I think it's these moments where he says something like, you're always there to rub my back, instead of these kind of rom-com huge moments like, oh, you met me in a blizzard and brought me a dozen roses and told me that you love me forever. Like these big scenes, these big, kind of overblown gestures that, a lot of songs get written about. And a lot of good songs have that sort of stuff in them too. But that sort of thing wouldn't work here. And I think the simplicity of something like, you're always there to rub my back when I've had a hard day. It's like, it's you can imagine, whether you have a romantic relationship like that, or you have just close friends that are always there for you, you know what that warm feeling is. And hearing those lyrics gives you that warm feeling. It gives you a very visceral reaction to the song and helps you feel the emotion that he's conveying. And the simplicity of the scenes that he sets and the simplicity of the lyrics, I think, makes that even more accessible. And it really is this song in particular really speaks to me, because of the way that it's written, and I have a great relationship with Fiance the Pod Marla. Like, that's the sort of thing that she does for me. So when I hear this song, and I've come back after a hard day of work and she'll already be making dinner or something like that, or have done something to make my life easier that night, and it's just like those little things are so important. And to see them in a song, it really kind of, because I've had the, I guess, luck to be able to experience those things, not only with Marla, but with close friends of mine like you guys, that it's just like, I don't know. It's a very nostalgic song. It's a very nostalgic feeling, but it's a very happy feeling.
Yeah, it's impossible to be cynical about this song, and you're right. It's something that hopefully we all in our lives get to experience. Is just someone that makes your life easier, not because you're selfish or helpless or anything else. It's just what you do for each other, because you're that in sync. It's very cute. I hope to find that someday, preferably with Doja Cat.
You will. I think she's coming around.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, I think she's coming around. So the next one is Haley's Waitress. This one I think is just kind of, was almost like a tossed off song, but is interesting because it's got like a much different musical sensibility to it. It's almost like if people have heard the Arctic Monkeys album Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, it's like
great album.
I'm lukewarm on that one.
Oh,
but
are you?
Yeah, maybe we could do that one on the pod someday.
Shit.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with it. Marla's a huge Arctic Monkeys fan, so I do love the Arctic Monkeys. I will say that. I do think Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino was a drastic departure from what I love about the Arctic Monkeys. But we can talk about that another time, and we should. I think that'd be a very interesting discussion.
Okay.
But Haley's Waitress has that same kind of vibe to it. And it's just about waiting for bad service, basically. It's like he is used to the hustle and bustle of New York City. And whenever he goes anywhere else, he's like every other New Yorker and compares wherever he is to New York City and how much better New York City is than wherever he is currently. And it's just kind of funny because I think we all do that. Like I do that down here all the time about Vermont. Like, oh, people are nicer in Vermont. The food's better in Vermont. We get better maple syrup. We get better ice cream in Vermont. It's like everything. I compare everything to home, and generally, home comes out very favorably in those comparisons for me.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
and man, I just want to be one of those toxic New York people who just everything's better from New York. Oh, I could slide right into that life. It would suit me.
I think you'd be very good at it.
I'm a talented performer. This is maybe my next acting challenge.
Yeah, he's not just a
douchebag.
He's not just a podcaster, folks. He's not just a podcaster. So the next song, "Hung Up on You." Now, to no one's surprise, this is probably my favorite song on the album because who knew they could do a country song? Who knew? And not only that, have Robert fucking Randolph playing the pedal steel for them. Like that is when you're talking about pedal steel players, if folks aren't familiar with the instrument, it's the one that makes the really whiny sounds in country music, the really twangy, the like that kind of stuff. And Robert Randolph is about as good as it gets on the pedal steel. He is the in-demand guy when it comes to that instrument. And the fact that they got him to play on this song is pretty incredible. And it is a very good country song. It's not like they just tossed this off. Like clearly he likes country music and he was like, I want to do a country song. So let me get one of the best pedal steel players that exists and let me do a country song. And it's so goddamn good because not only he writes it differently than he wrote the rest of the songs on the album. It's got very, very country lyrics. Like ever since you hung up on me, I'm hung up on you. Like that's one of those like clever, like the all my exes live in Texas kind of things. Like it's right up there with that, where it's just got that very twangy country sound to it with those kind of clever, funny lyrics, very self-deprecating. And I love it. I just love it.
Well, once again, I knew within a statistical certainty that you were going to pick this one. The second Tanner he's like, oh yeah, and then the country song, and I'm like, yep, hung up on you. Jeff will 100% pick that.
Yep.
And I don't say that as a drag. I'm glad you did, because it is a fantastic song. It's a great country song. Again, that line, hung up on me, hung up on you, that whole dichotomy is like Nashville sound. It's as old as the genre itself. It just is so crazy to me how they made something that could easily be slotted in with that catalog.
Oh yeah. I would be interested to have heard if they did an entire country album. Like if they decided to do like a country concept album.
I bet that would have been awesome.
It would have been kick-ass.
Because like Elvis Costello did it. Here I go. Elvis Costello. Frank Zappa. Elvis Costello did an entire country album, and it was like decent. I enjoy it. There are some songs that he covers that I like better, but it is one of those rare instances where his voice is an impediment to me, to the enjoyment of it, because it's just so distinct. So not everybody can do country and make it happen so seamlessly without it sounding like parody, without it sounding like you have no business with it. And it's not like the lead singer, Chris Collinsworth, whatever his name is, it's not like he's affecting some kind of like Travis Tritt voice or something like that. Just doing what he does on the rest of the album. And it just meshes so absolutely perfectly.
Yeah. And just the line, now I'm going down to Jimmy's bar like 1,000 other times with an appetite for poison and a suitcase full of dimes.
I mean, come on.
It's so good. It's so perfect. It's so country. It's like that early 90s country from like Dust on the Bottle and songs like that. That is exactly what this song sounds like to me. And it's just perfect. I love it. It's so good. This one is going on like every country playlist that I have. I'm going to listen. This is probably going to get on my Spotify most played list at the end of the year. Very prestigious list, by the way. Very, very prestigious. But it's just so perfect. Just such a perfect country song. And who knew
it really
that
is.
They would do that? The same guys that did Stacy's Mom made a perfect country song. Who'd have thunk?
Well, it's a good pick, Geoff. I like it.
I do. I'm patting myself on the back right now. For those at home listening to the podcast, can't see what we're doing. I'm patting myself on the back right now. Next one is Fire Island. Didn't have much to say about that one. Again, was nice. I think it was talking about parents' divorce. Is that correct? No. No, the parents are gone. The kids are partying.
Mm-hmm.
Classic. We've done that a few times.
Oh, sure.
The next song, Peace and Love. Now, this one, he has a line that I think we need to bring up because he does mention our home state.
Oh.
Sometimes I think I might just move up to Vermont, open up a bookstore or a vegan restaurant. Now, he does have, I think there's some assumptions there about Vermonters that I don't particularly like, but anytime Vermont gets mentioned in a song like this, I'm going to make sure I shut that out.
I don't particularly care for his assumption that Vermonters are illiterate people. We take great pride in our ignorance, goddamn you.
Yeah. Fuck this guy. Who's he think he is? Yes. And bought first song. So we're just going to run through the rest here because we're almost out of time, but I do want to mention the rest of the songs because I think the album deserves that. The next song, Bought First Song, another very good one. Another very, very good song. Definitely, I think, better than Peace and Love. So it was a nice departure from that. Super Collider. Now this one, I was like, it could have been Oasis. Like if you played this song for me and said it was Oasis, I would have believed you.
Yep. Yeah, now that you mention it, I can absolutely see that.
Yeah, just it's pretty incredible. They definitely have their influences that they wear on their sleeves, but it still sounds like them. You know, it's like you can hear those parts in it if you want to, but overall, you know, you're definitely listening to a Fountains of Wayne song. You know, it's just pretty incredible what they can do. Pretty incredible. So the next one, Yours and Mine, nice little interlude here. You know, it's just about, again, like same kind of thing as Hey Julie, where it's just this little snapshot of two people just living a regular life, having a nice night at home. Just a nice little vignette. And the last song, Elevator Up. Now this one, great closer because it's a party anthem. So the second half of the album, you know, they kind of slowed it down a little bit. There was some, you know, certainly some subject matter that was like a little bit less happy than Stacy's Mom. That's for sure. So this one, you know, going back to like kind of a party anthem was a great way to close the album.
Yeah, definitely. And that, brings us to take stock of the whole thing. And it's an absolutely perfect slice of life. Just,
Mm-hmm.
Ostensibly different days, but I guess romantically, I think about just like one day in the life of average Americans and
Mm-hmm.
what we're all going through. Those are the most interesting movies I've watched. It's a fucked up movie, but Happiness is a Todd Solondz movie
Yeah.
that is following all these different characters. Magnolia, something like that, and more extraordinary things happen in these movies, I guess. But I'm a sucker for these lives that don't necessarily intersect, and you
Mm-hmm.
just get all these different perspectives and all these different stories, and it's stuff you can relate to no matter what. It's just like a really cool feat that the fellas in Fountains of Wayne were able to accomplish with this album. I cannot recommend enough that you stream it.
Yes. And I will say the same. Absolutely stream it. I think this is one of those ones where it's like, I don't know what kind of person won't like this album, but they probably aren't one that's going to be listening to this podcast anyway. Yeah. It's like if you like pop music at all, if you like rock and roll music at all, if you like pop punk music at all, like you're going to like this album. And I would guarantee it. I will stake my reputation as a podcaster upon this album because it is that good. The fact that they didn't blow up and that they didn't become like one of the biggest bands in the world. I suppose they were for a little bit with Stacy's mom, but the fact that they didn't absolutely blow up is pretty crazy to me because this album is that good.
Yes, I'd agree. Cosign.
Yes. So thank you, Tanner, for the recommendation. I think this was a really fun one to do. And again, find us on Instagram at Out on That Line. Send us a DM with an album that you want us to review. Find us on Twitter at Out on That Line 1. Email us if you like, outonthatline@gmail.com. We have a Facebook, Out on That Line. We have a YouTube, Out on That Line. You got to search hashtag Out on That Line, though, on the YouTube. In order to find us, we'll pop right up there if you put that in the search bar. Make sure you subscribe on there. We will have another singles video. As you're listening to this, there will have been one that came out on Thursday. So if you haven't watched that, go watch it. If you have watched that, go watch it again. And make sure you subscribe. Alex, did you have anything else for this week?
No, I was going to plug my singles episode because let me tell you guys, it's going to be a big one. Like, you ain't seen nothing like this on singles yet. This is Singles Unleashed. This is Singles After Dark. This is the good shit. This is the stuff you guys came for. So make sure you watch that video.
Oh, yes. Make sure you cozy up with a nice glass of wine and load up that Out on That Line YouTube page. You can find all of our episodes on there as well. So if you prefer YouTube as your podcast listening service, we got you. You just go on there, search hashtag Out on That Line. And again, make sure you subscribe. We want to see lots of you guys in there, and we want to make sure that we get on your homepages. We want you to be inundated with Out on That Line content. That's our goal. That's what we're going to do. We'll be back next week. Until next time.